Thank you for joining us. My name is Morgan, and
I'm Amy-Jo Girardier.
And we are talking about Gen Z today. We just had an incredible discussion, and it was kind of long.
A little bit.
But there was so much to cover, so we broke it up in 2 parts, and this is part 2 of that video. So if you like it, go ahead and like and subscribe, and here's part 2. Okay, so there's a couple other questions that I thought were very interesting. They were like the top most searched ones on Google and YouTube, so I wanted to ask you those. But one of them was, how will Gen Z change the world?
Okay.
So that was like one of the most searched YouTube videos.
I wonder if that was Gen Z doing that, because they do want to be world changers. So they're a little bit different in their desire to change the world, because we were told that millennials wanted to do the same thing.
Right.
Millennials chose to do that through their shopping habits, you know, like text to end poverty, or buy these shoes to, you know, put a well in. Whereas Gen Z is like, I just want to go and get my hands dirty. I want to do this myself. So I think we're going to see more and more Gen Z wanting to make a difference through service projects and all those things. I think they will take responsibility for that. We're seeing that in the student ministry, the surge and mission trips and what they're doing. We have more and more students that are going on mission than ever before. So
that's amazing.
So I think that, just their entrepreneurial spirit of like, I can do this, I can make a difference. So if their heart is captured by a passion, they're not going to ignore it. Like, they're going to do it.
Yes.
So I think we'll see some cool stuff there.
That's one thing that you were talking to me about the other day, is when they really do grasp Jesus and that message, they are unstoppable.
Right.
They will run with it.
Yeah.
And nothing. And that's so inspiring to me. Yeah.
I think when I was first kind of thinking about this generation, the Lord just kind of reminded me of, the passage in Philippians that says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I think if they're in this generation and they don't know Christ, they stop at, I can do all things.
Right.
So when they know who Christ is in their life, it's because we know that's a lie. They can't do all things. Right. They're going to fail. And that's when I think the hopelessness sets in of like, oh gosh, I can't do this. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And they are like a force to be reckoned with.
Wow.
So, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing. Okay. I think those were all of them. You touched on, one of them was Gen Z versus millennials. I think you touched on that, but if you want to add the key differences between those 2 generations.
Yeah, I think with millennials, and I want to be careful because I think as a lot of us have maybe talked about millennials and they've sometimes gotten a negative viewpoint, they did grow up in a very optimistic state. And so I think it's been hard for that generation to rebound in the midst. And I think there's maybe a couple, they've spliced that generation of millennials. There's like 2 different types, of how they've, but basically I think millennials for the most part were very optimistic, And so I think the biggest thing has been watching Gen Z watch millennials and then their response. So a lot of times I think millennials and Gen Z, just the digital natives that they are, could look a lot alike, right? But they are vastly different. So I think you're going to find Gen Z has more of that discouragement from if you took a phone away from them, that's even more punishment. I think millennials are the ones now that probably are leading out in creating phone-free spaces. I think they're starting to realize, whoa, we need a Sabbath. How do we handle this? Wouldn't you say a little bit more?
Definitely.
And so Gen Z may get to that point. I think they recognize that it's a problem, but I'm not seeing them super responsive to, I'm good to walk away from my phone. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
And that could just be my take. But
no, personally, I mean, I'm a millennial, so personally in my own life, I am realizing, wow, this device can
rewire.
Yes. Yeah. And actually taking time to put the phone down and say, yeah, this is going to be a phone free or technology free night, actually.
Yeah.
But thinking about my little sister and the girls that I kind of mentor and help lead, I do see what you were saying as well.
They have more device, what's the word? More screens. They're millennials. I feel like they multitask with 2 screens, and I think Gen Z is 5.
Gotcha.
And so they're also able to, I say, filter information faster than millennials. So whereas it was 12 seconds to filter information from a, whatever device or Snapchat or whatever, Gen Z is able to do it in 8 seconds. And so, you can see them like rapidly bringing in information and processing. So
yes, which is incredible,
right?
But it can be dangerous.
It can be a distraction if you start thinking about it like in learning environments. Okay, so if they're listening to a talk and how do you kind of splice up your talk a little bit more, make snackable content as we talk about, so that if it's too long of something, although we are finding if they're passionate about it, they're dialing in. But still, like, we try to create some snackable content for them. So
no, that's so good. Okay, I think that is all that we have for the questions that I wrote down that people are asking. If you have anything else that you want to offer just about Gen Z.
Yeah. I'm excited about this generation and what God is doing in and through them. And I think that if you don't haven't spent time with a Gen Z person, I know you have, but just older generations, they really relate to as well. And so I think a lot of times even just older generations are thinking, I don't know how to connect with them, or they seem overwhelmed. And I truly believe it. I mean, it says in Scripture that one generation is to pass on the works of who God is to the next generation, and praise, who God is to that next generation. And we're seeing generations split apart, right? And so it's so important for us to engage the next generation. And so I think if you are older, if you're a grandparent, if you're a parent, don't allow that lie that, I have nothing to offer this generation, because I think that's what Satan really wants. He wants to stop a generation from talking to the other generations.
Yeah, so. That's so good. And personally, I know that looking up to older generations has impacted my walk with Christ so much. Right. And so I want to be the person who can offer that to the younger generations as well. And seeing what you're doing is incredible, because you're the girls minister at Brentwood. And so just you being able to lead that generation, also speak to me about who they are and how we can help impact their walk with the Lord. It's just amazing. So anyways, thank you so much for watching our YouTube video, Mike Lynn's channel. This was a Mike Lynn takeover, and we had a lot of fun today talking about Gen Z and just kind of helpful tips about who they are and what makes them them. So if you like this video, be sure to like and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you have any questions for us, please comment below and we would love to answer those questions. And we'll see you next time.